It's Thursday, January 22. In the headlines, a call for public accounting of approximately $75 million raised in the 2023 Sagicor Sigma corporate run. In business news, we have the top business stories and movements in the financial market. Regionally, the Caribbean Meteorological Organization warns of gaps in disaster communication. And in sports, Jamaica defeats Red Force Divas in the CWI T20 Blaze. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. Opposition spokesman on health and wellness, Dr. Alfred Dawes, has called for an urgent public accounting of approximately $75 million raised in the 2023 corporate Sigma run for the pediatric ward at the University Hospital of the West Indies. Dr. Dawes raised concerns following reports that funds collected through the Sigma run may not have been used for their intended purpose. In a statement on Wednesday, he said he was deeply troubled by claims that the money may have been diverted without consultation with the hospital's pediatric department. Dr. Dawes stressed that funds raised in the name of sick children must be used strictly as intended, warning that any deviation requires immediate explanation. Meanwhile, Sagicor Foundation has since released a statement noting its wishes to add clarity to the public discourse relating to the University Hospital of the West Indies and the proceeds of the 2023 Sigma corporate run. The statement reads that, quote, in 2023, the event raised $91,852,500 to support two causes: Edna Manley College of the Visual and Performing Arts and the UHWI's Pediatric Unit, end quote. The statement furthers, Sagicor Foundation can confirm that in 2024, $495,000, approximately $79,200,000 was paid to an authorized Philips distributor to acquire a CT scan machine for UHWI, end quote. The foundation says it has been advised by the supplier that the machine was shipped in early December 2025 and is slated to arrive in Jamaica in February 2026. The cost of land preparation has been discontinued from the suite of services offered by the Rural Agricultural Development Authority, RADA. Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining, Floyd Green, says the move is part of the ministry's planned post-hurricane response to help farmers restart.
I'm pleased to report that already we have prepared 504 hectares for approximately 1,300 farmers at a value of $80 million.
He says before the hurricane, his team started the process of procuring walk-behind tractors.
Those have since come and have been deployed across a number of parishes. So we have deployed 6 walk-behind tractors across St. Thomas, St. Elizabeth, Clarendon, and St. Anne and Manchester, supporting our onion and vegetable land preparation. In addition, 6 earth augers have been deployed in Trelawney, St. Anne, Clarendon, and Manchester. Minister Green also reports that 850 hectares of potato farms have been established. Supported 1,454 farmers. We do expect that by March, we will have about 12,996 tons of Irish ready for the market. He adds that since Hurricane Melissa struck last October, water support and restoration works have been in play.
The Agriculture Minister was speaking at a recent Hurricane Melissa recovery and sector update media briefing. The Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information is far advanced in its review of a 2011 report on proposed reforms of the Jamaica Access to Information Act. Speaking at a Jamaicans for Justice Access to Information Forum this week, Parliamentary Secretary in the Education Ministry, Senator Marlon Morgan, said while a joint select committee of Parliament examined reforms to the 2022 legislation as far back as 2011, the passage of time has made it necessary to revisit those recommendations. Senator Morgan says the ministry is considering submissions from multiple stakeholders, including civil society groups, with the aim of addressing long-standing implementation challenges.
You would have seen JFJ's own body of work, as is contained in the document being launched and presented today. And so the ministry essentially intends in a matter of months weeks to months to conclude its own review, and in keeping with the process, moving from a ministry's policy determination, then to a cabinet decision.
In the meantime, the Access to Information Unit is set to intensify operational improvements during the 2026-2027 fiscal year. Plans are also underway to launch a new ATI website in 2026, expand public education initiatives, create an online stakeholder engagement platform, and develop an institutional report card to measure performance.
The Access to Information Unit can assure the public that its training of responsible ATI officers is a phenomenon that is ongoing. In fact, they have it embedded in their operational plan each year. So it's training that is ongoing because they too are cognizant of the realities as it relates to, attrition and people moving on in pursuit of other opportunities.
2025 marked a year of major transformation for Jamaica's education sector, with the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information rolling out sweeping reforms aimed at strengthening teaching, expanding access, and building long-term resilience. From permanent appointments for education specialists to new STEM institutions and hurricane recovery efforts, the ministry is highlighting 5 key achievements that reshaped the education landscape during the year.
The Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information took bold steps to reshape Jamaica's education landscape in 2025, and I will give you the highlights through 5 major achievements. We begin with a historic change that teachers and students have long awaited. For years, educational specialists and instructional coaches worked on short-term contracts. In 2025, they became permanent members of staff.
So removing our specialists from this, uncertainty in how they are employed, into embedding this into our structure in ministry. We are building out the foundational unit in math and English.
The transformation journey continues. Through the Education Transformation Oversight Committee, ETOC, Jamaica has now implemented 30% of the 365 recommendations from the Jamaica Education Transformation Commission, a 7% increase over 2024's progress. Another major stride came through a partnership between the Heart NSTA Trust and the Guangdong VCOM Educational Technology Corporation Limited. Together, they launched the World Skills Jamaica Global Training Center at the Hart College of Construction Services in Portmore. The new center is offering world-class infrastructure, global recognition for Jamaican credentials, and specialist programs in emerging fields like optoelectronics. Another milestone took shape in St. Catherine with the opening of Crystal House Jamaica's STEM-focused high school in Twickenham Park. The Ministry of Education provided 50% of the funding for the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics-based institution. It's currently serving 477 students from nearby communities. Hurricane Melissa caused damage to more than 600 schools, disrupting learning for thousands of students.
To ensure learning does not come to a halt for the thousands of children in the severely damaged schools, we have activated a host school modality. This is a temporary arrangement where a student from a non-operational school continues learning in another institution for a defined period of time.
The ministry also successfully engaged the administrators of external examinations to ensure impacted Jamaican students would not be disadvantaged.
So we're working with our primary external partners to ease the burden on our children as best as possible.
To deal with the damage to school stock, Cabinet approved a relief grant of $500 million, and in November, the ministry began disbursing grants ranging from $300,000 to $1 million to support cleanup activities. The ministry's partner, the National Education Trust, launched a Hurricane Melissa Disaster Recovery Schools Needs Survey and opened the channels for partners and donors to channel all hurricane recovery support. By mid-November, 78% or 791 schools were reopened.
Our long-term recovery strategy will prioritize the creation of a fundamentally more resilient education system.
And that wraps up our 2025 Ministry of Education Skills, Youth and Information Review, highlighting the year's key achievements, initiatives, and milestones.
Time now for the business report.
Welcome to today's business report. I'm Denise Williams, bringing you the development shaping markets, capital access, and business decision-making across Jamaica and the region. Let's get into the stories that matter. The recently released Jamaica Conference Board survey of business confidence for the final quarter of 2025 showed that survey respondents expressed uncertainty about the economic outlook due to the disruptive effects of Hurricane Melissa on Tuesday, October 28, 2025. The survey findings were released at the Terra Nova All-Suite Hotel on January 20th, and pollster Don Anderson stated, and I quote, "Very important to note that across the various indices that create and feed into and drive that final overall index, all of them fell." In the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa, businesses commonly reported that the most significant impact on their investment portfolios was commercial disruption rather than direct physical loss. Even with those challenges, businesses have shifted their focus to building emergency cash reserves, improving disaster preparedness, and business continuity plans, diversifying product services and markets, and investing in more resilient infrastructure and technology, and increasing insurance coverage. As a result of the climate shock, some consumers expressed concerns about price increases and the rise in the cost of living. Others were concerned about damage to homes, disruption in children's schooling, disruptions in access to services such as utilities and transport. Looking ahead, consumers plan to strengthen or rebuild their housing structures, increase emergency savings, and purchase home insurance. For the trading period of January 21, 2026, the most actively traded securities were Trans-Jamaica Highway Limited with 4,368,603 units at 15.57% of market sales activity. Wigton Energy Limited with 4,020,986 units or 14.34% of market sales activities. Kintyre Holdings Jamaica Limited with 3,660,113 units, representing 13.05% of market sales activities. Investor activity remained concentrated in transportation, construction, and distribution plays, signaling continued interest in dividend-producing and strategic assets. Turning to the foreign exchange market, based on Bank of Jamaica data for January 21, 2026, Forex traders recorded significant activity with strong demand across major currencies. US dollar had trading margins reflected steady liquidity, with the US selling at $158 and buying at $156.49. The Canadian dollar had moderate gains supported by 47-cent transaction spreads. The Canadian dollar was sold for $114.70 and bought for $114.23. For the British pound, continued volatility offered short-term trading opportunities of $9.25 in profit for the banks. The British pound sold for $215.11 and was bought for $205.86. These movements underscore the importance of cash flow timing and currency awareness for businesses managing import costs, debt servicing, or overseas exposure. For our credit report tip of the day, if you own shares, take action to borrow against these shares and not use your credit report by starting with your investment broker. Ask whether your portfolio qualifies for share pledging or securities-backed lending. Ask what percentage of your holdings can be used as collateral, and ask which stocks are eligible. Whether your shares are listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange, Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange, Barbados Stock Exchange, New York Stock Exchange, or Toronto Stock Exchange, the process is similar. Your broker reviews the value, liquidity, and stability of your shares, then outlines how much cash you can access without selling them. This shifts the focus from your credit report to your assets, allowing you to use what you already own to fund business growth, real estate, or new investment opportunities while keeping your portfolio. And that's today's business report. I'm Denise Williams, bringing clarity to capital, markets, and strategy. Until next time, stay informed, stay intentional, and keep building forward. See you soon.
In regional news, regional weather experts, disaster officials, and media professionals are meeting in Port of Spain, Trinidad, calling for stronger, clearer communication to reduce the impact of weather-related disasters across the Caribbean. The Caribbean Meteorological Organization says accurate forecasts alone are not enough, stressing that trusted, well-coordinated warnings amplified by the media are critical to ensuring the public acts in time to stay safe.
Regional weather experts and professionals gathered to discuss the strengthening of knowledge exchange and mutual understanding between National Meteorological and Hydrometeorological Services, National Disaster Risk Management Offices, and the media in Port-of-Spain. Coordinating Director of the Caribbean Meteorological Organization, Dr. Arlene Leng, made it known upfront that no matter how good they get at forecasting, it will not reduce risk of weather-related disasters.
Risk is reduced when warnings are clearly communicated, trusted, and acted upon. This requires not only effective communication, but also recognizes authoritative voices and institutions with legally mandated responsibility to issue warnings.
She said in some parts of the Caribbean, there are gaps in legal authority, unclear mandates, and overlapping sources of information which undermine the credibility and effectiveness of early warnings. She is calling for mass media to become a part of the voice for informing and updating the public on risks and hazard reduction for vulnerable communities, because even the best of forecasts have had gaps.
Where authoritative channels are not clearly defined or consistently reinforced or legally supported, you can have confusion arising at critical moments, and that will weaken public trust and delay protective action. And that's not what we want to avoid. We want to avoid delay of protective action. Devastating major hurricanes such as Melissa and Beryl in recent memory have demonstrated how even technically accurate forecasts and messages can still fail to prevent some harm.
And disaster risk reduction specialist for the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, Anwar Baksh, said funding exists through a global UNDP proposal to support the implementation of activities to close the gaps that exist with multi-hazard early warning systems, and in 2026, very soon, our region. He said the implementation of proper communications is key to disaster relief and preparedness.
This workshop comes at a pivotal moment on the heels of the recently catastrophic Hurricane Melissa in the region that reminded us that we cannot do it alone, that we must speak to each other, that we must understand what is being said, and that we must communicate effectively and accurately, and there's a key emphasis on the term accurately, to our population.
The workshop brings together key stakeholders, including National Meteorological Services, disaster management agencies and the media, and communication sector representatives to enhance early warning communication systems across the region, and media participation is essential in amplifying its reach and impact. I am Zena James for TTT News.
Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis and Caricom Chairman Dr. Terence Drew has begun high-level consultations ahead of the upcoming Caricom Heads of Government Conference. Meeting with St. Vincent and the Grenadines Prime Minister Dr. Godwin Friday to discuss regional priorities ahead of the February summit. The details in this report.
Dr. Terence Drew, Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis and current chairman of the Caribbean Community, met with Dr. Godwin Friday, the recently elected Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as part of the preparatory phase ahead of the February 24-27 Caricom Heads of Government Conference to be hosted by St. Kitts and Nevis. The meeting with Dr. Godwin also included Caricom Secretary General Dr. Carla Barnett. According to some socio-political commentators, this year is particularly challenging for Caricom, given the existing geopolitical tensions, the impact of the America First foreign policy of the current U.S. president, economic vulnerabilities, and matters of regional unity and cohesiveness. It is important, therefore, that Caricom heads have a successful outcome of their meeting in Bastia in just a few weeks' time. As chairman, Dr. Drew is consulting with the heads of government ahead of the critical February meeting. Prime Minister Dr. Drew, in his meeting with St. Vincent and the Grenadines Prime Minister Dr. Godwin and his cabinet, will discuss matters of regional concerns and priorities, as well as other critical areas for regional collaboration and cohesion. it is believed that Caricom heads of government will have to demonstrate effective strategic discipline, implement a higher level of cohesion, and ensure clarity in moving forward in 2026. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline.
Antigua and Barbuda's permanent representative to the Organization of American States, Sir Ronald Saunders, is calling for urgent hemispheric action to address Haiti's ongoing security crisis. Sir Ronald criticized what he called a fading sense of urgency about the terror facing ordinary Haitians as he addressed the Permanent Council of the OAS on Wednesday.
Sir Ronald Saunders marked the 16th anniversary of Haiti's devastating 2010 earthquake with a pointed message to members of the OAS Permanent Council on Wednesday. Words of sympathy are not enough. The ambassador used the occasion of welcoming Haiti's returning permanent representative, Ambassador Jean-Justo Pierre, to issue a stark assessment of the international response to Haiti's gang violence crisis.
One must ask candidly and uncomfortably, is there any other country in our hemisphere where we would sit back, allow constitutional governance to collapse, and respond primarily with debates, deferred decisions, and carefully worded resolutions, while still claiming solidarity?
Ambassador Saunders argued that the lack of decisive action reflects not a shortage of capacity, but a shortage of political will.
Countries in our hemisphere have demonstrated that when political will aligns with purpose, complex and dangerous operations can be executed with speed, precision, and resources. The question before us about Haiti is not one of capacity, it is one of caring and political will.
The ambassador proposed establishing an OAS fund for Haiti, calling on all member states to contribute. He also paid tribute to Ambassador Pierre, who previously served at the OAS before being posted to Paris, describing him as a consummate diplomat returning at a critical moment in his country's history. Sir Ronald closed with a challenge to his fellow diplomats. The credibility of the hemisphere's commitment to Haiti will be measured not by council statements, but by what Haitians endure every day. Samantha Simon, ABS News.
In sports, Jamaica delivered a dominant all-around performance to secure victory over the Trinidad and Tobago Red Force Divas in the final round of the Cricket West Indies T20 Blaze tournament in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Nasira Mohammed has the details.
Jamaica won the toss and elected to bowl first against the Trinidad and Tobago Red Force Divas in the final round of the CWI T20 Blaze tournament in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Trinidad and Tobago 76 for 8 from a rain-shortened 17 overs, with Janaba Joseph top scoring with 27 of 30 deliveries. Jamaica's bowling attack was clinical, led by the experienced Safani Taylor, who claimed 3 for 9 from 3 overs. In reply, Jamaica reached their target in just 15.2 overs, scoring 79 for 7. Taylor starred again, this time with the bat, scoring 21 of 20, while Shadeen Nation top scored with 24 of 29. Red Force Divas Brianna Haricharan starred with the ball again to finish with figures of 3 for 17. While Captain Karishma Ramharak had 2 for 13. This is the Red Force Divas' third loss from 5 matches.
And that's it for the news on PBCJ. Pleasant viewing.